Yes, I, Ann Dolores Brown, my birth given name, started my early education in Charlotte County, Virginia, in Sachs, Virginia, attending two-room brick school called Galilee School doing segregation, doing Jim Crow. It was two rooms. We had an outdoor toilet, we had an outdoor pump, we had a playground, but it was very, very limited in what we had. We had a library in there that was maybe 3 to 4 feet tall with raggedy books in it and everything. I had a teacher, Miss Nana P. Morton, and Miss Murray F. Dupee were my teachers. From the first through the fourth grade, it was Nana P. Morton. And every day, one of the things that stands out in my mind when I first started school was we had to say our chores. We had to say my fingernails are clean, I brushed my teeth, my hair has been combed, and I have on clean underwear, okay? We had to do that every day. Then we had to raise our hand and say Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, all right? And then as the day progressed on, they gave us book to read. Some of the books that I first read was Fun with Dick and Jane, all right? And with Fun and Dick and Jane, it was all white people. There was blonde hair. There were no black people in the books. There were no black images in the book. And we read out of those books all through the first through the fourth grade. And then one of the first black books that I got introduced to was called Little Sambo. And that book, when I think about it now, it just kind of turns me off. But then when I got to the other section of the school, which was, they had these great big brown doors, the separator that they put up, and I went into Miss Mary F. Dupee's class. She introduced me to reading at another level. And I wrote, the first poem that I read was inspired by her, called Trees by Joyce Kilmer. And that really started me to writing poetry.
If you look in the town, Farmville I describe Farmville back during this era as capital F segregation. What you see in the history books, what you see, coloreds only, whites only kind of door frames. African Americans were not allowed to shop in the downtown restaurants, without getting their food from the back, or they weren't allowed to try on clothes in the boutiques and the clothing stores. So you very regularly see parents coming in shoe stores, for instance, with a cardboard footprint, because they would trace their kid's foot and they would take it into the store and size that because you couldn't try on a shoe. And you could never return any clothing that you bought, so you had to make sure that it was correct. And so that was traditional capital S segregation. But in the more rural parts of the county, it was really a lowercase s segregation, as I called it. So black and white families living next to each other, eating at each other's dinner tables. They're farmers in large part. So like, you loan me your plow, I'll give you half my crop, right? Black and white kids playing together. Barbara grew up with white friends, right? It was not uncommon. So she knew that this whole desegregation thing could work. It's just the establishment, the powers that be, wouldn't really allow that to truly kind of happen. And so there's a lot of stories and stuff that kind of goes with that, but just note, like, it was a complicated situation here, but there was a proof of concept of being able to peacefully coexist. Longwood, as President Wrigley would say, has not always been on the right side of the angels here. And so a state teachers college, Farmville, Virginia, and a county with no public schools, Longwood does nothing to help the black or the white kids when these schools were closed. And that irony was not lost upon these citizens and these community members who were here during that time period. And then added to the fact until kind of the 60s and the 70s and throughout the 90s, Longwood used eminent domain to expand the campus. And so that's a feeling that's left a lot of resistance and frustration within local folks who are still here. Remember what Griffin Boulevard used to look like. I described Griffin Boulevard and street museums on as that was the Harlem of Farmville. Black-owned businesses, black-owned restaurants and shops. It used to be a juke joint back in the day. I'm not going to tell you what that is. You'll have to go look it up. But it was a kind of hopping spot there back in the day.